Hello, this is Joe83. This is episode 25 of the My Team Lotus career mode, and we're here in Hanoi for season 2. And after a podium last time out in Bahrain, if you haven't seen that, go and check it out, although I have just spoiled it for you. Yeah, we want to do pretty similar things in Hanoi after the pretty poor start we had in Australia with the 8th place, and then 2nd in Bahrain, as I said. And yeah, into Hanoi, we want to do similar things, hopefully. The pace last season was pretty good, so I'm hoping for similar things again. But we only could get green score in the wet practice one, but I waited for the dry for the rest of the practice programs. But yeah, it looks like a pretty comfortable purple in the tyre wear test, as long as we can stay above on the delta, and we seem to be doing that pretty comfortably. And yeah, half a second, I can't throw that away surely through the last corner. And yeah, comfortably 50 points for the tyre wear test, which is good. The deltas on season 2 in general have been very hard to do so far, so I'm happy that I can actually do some of them at least, and generally if I can get 30 points I'm fairly happy with that, as we got there on the fuel saving. Although the car isn't in desperate need of upgrades anymore, as we are still, according to the table at least, the second fastest car, although I think Ferrari are still in race pace at least. Pretty much have us on rails, to be honest. Yeah, so we're going to be struggling to beat them, but yeah, the car's decent, so we don't need massive upgrades at the minute. But yeah, into qualifying then for Hanoi, and my primary aim is to actually like get into Q3 for once, because we haven't actually got to Q3 at all this season yet. So hopefully we can do that in this session. But into Q1, around the final few corners, that corner I struggle with so much still, even after last year. I think having done a 50 around here already, I still don't know how to take that corner properly. But it's a decent first lap actually. We're 8th as it stands, and that was all I did in Q1. We risked it and it paid off. We're through to Q2 on just the one lap, only by 0.02 of a second, but yeah, 16th is still through to Q2, so happily taking that. 6/10 off my teammate, but it is what it is. And yeah, straight into the end of Q2. My first lap wasn't too good, but yeah, through the first roundabout section, try and get it hooked over that curb nicely, and we're already a 10th and a bit up on my previous lap, running a little bit wide there, but not too much time gain, I don't think, and it's obviously just to understeer, and then over that curb nicely and getting a nice clean exit, and we're 15th in a minute, but we're half a second up already down the first DRS straight and down towards the second roundabout section. You can see on the top left we're a 10th, almost 2/10 up actually on Kvyat in his McLaren in 12th, so that, if we can carry that sort of speed on, that should be quite comfortably through to Q2 and through the second roundabout section, and we're now almost 9/10 of a second up. So at this rate we'll be easily through to Q2, and you see the middle sector split, we're purple actually, we're 6/10 up on Kvyat, and as long as we don't completely bin ourselves off in the final sector, we should be getting through to Q3 here, which you would expect, but it's still quite surprising given how our pace in qualifying has been so far. But almost hitting that inside wall there, and then through the final few corners, taking this one nice and close to that wall again, over that curve nicely, and through the second last corner, which I've been struggling with quite a lot. And yeah, once again, not the best line ever through there, but through the final corner, 4th gear for the extra turn in, and over the line, it's almost a second improvement, and it puts me in what is, I think, 5th, was it, in Q2? No, 7th actually, sorry, on the the end of that session, which all that matters is we're into Q3 and only 2/10 off my teammate. That's the closest I've been all year, and we're actually both of us ahead of our respective Red Bulls. So yeah, looking pretty good as the third fastest team really. But into Q3 now, I didn't do a first lap because I used 2 new sets of softs in Q2, so we only get 1 lap at the end of Q3, and through the roundabout section, not been the cleanest run ever. But yeah, at the end of that lap, you can see on the middle sector split, it's going to be just about ahead of Leclerc actually at the minute. So that's been pretty good. If I can qualify 6th, I'll be very happy with that. You see my teammate Carlos only in 7th as it stands, but through this high speed section, trying to keep it as nice as possible through this corner, once again just understeering massively and really struggling with that, and then through the final corner, not really that close to the inside wall there, and much closer to the outside. I think we brushed the outside wall actually, and I've absolutely bottled it and finished 10th. So yeah, not much more to say about that, other than that I was I think on for 6th place halfway through that lap and ended up finishing last, but that was definitely the pace in the car for 6th there. Maybe in 5th, as Albon isn't far ahead of Leclerc either, but Bottas and Hamilton lock out the front row with Vettel in 3rd, myself and Carlos in 10th and 7th respectively. I'm going to try and do the one-stop strategy, soft onto the hard tyres, sorry. Yeah, once I think the AI usually do 2 stops around here, so that could help us out as the strategy will play into my hands. Just trying to see how far the tyres will go, and yeah, onto the grid for the 5 red lights for the Vietnam Grand Prix from here in Hanoi. It's a pretty long hold, but we're away eventually, and it's a very good launch from Ricciardo alongside me, but even better launch from me. We're almost hitting Perez already. The car started directly ahead of me, and Sainz has covered the inside line, so it's going to be very close to me and Carlos into turn one, sending one down the inside of the hairpin and hopping over his curves, trying to leave Carlos some space on the outside. We don't want to be crashing into our teammate, and he's taken the high ground of the inside line for the first roundabout section, and that's allowing me to, yeah, unfortunately can't do anything. We're still an 8th though, and we've managed to take Ricciardo and Perez already and get back up to where I probably should have qualified in all honesty. But yeah, down towards the next corner, Perez definitely in the slipstream, and that the racing point is very quick in a straight line. He's going to go down the inside of the chicane and sending one, Sergio Perez, the Mexican, but hopping over those curbs. Almost, yeah, there was contact there actually, and Perez somehow didn't give me damage, and I've brushed the outside wall there and got a load of oversteer, so it's been a very messy few corners, but we've managed to hold on to 8th place. And yeah, Sainz is a little bit too far ahead to challenge into the next corner, but Perez is also too far away to challenge me. And a few hours later, lap 3, DRS are well and truly enabled right now, and you can see we're close up to Sainz quite a lot actually, and through this snail section we try to keep it as nice and smooth as possible. Getting a decent exit, but Sainz got a very good exit as well actually. Meanwhile, Perez has struggled to keep up with us, so we've got a DRS gap already to him, and we're in the DRS of Carlos. I don't think we're going to be close enough, as the DRS zone isn't actually that long compared to how long the straight is, but into the next corner, which is a very slow hairpin, trying to get as close to Carlos as possible, and you can see just the closing speed on the braking is ridiculous, so we're right in his diffuser almost there, so very close racing between the two Lotus cars. And through the final sector, nothing doing obviously through there, but one lap or half a lap later onto lap 4 now, and the Ferraris are kind of holding us up a bit. You can see on the minimap, one of the Mercedes is gone, and then we've got Vettel on second, and then the other Mercedes in third, and then Red Bulls, and then the Ferrari and the two Lotus cars all in a bit of a train. Sainz meanwhile absolutely bottling it if we go look back in the main screen, and yeah, Sainz has lost DRS on Leclerc there because of a massive mistake to turn 4, and that's made me get out of the throttle as well, so losing a lot of time to Sainz and almost hitting him once again, and it's such close racing. I've got a terrible line through there though, and loads of oversteer means that I'm probably not going to be close enough down the big straight to actually have a chance. And yeah, you can see on the Delta we're 7/10 off him now, but at the same point of the circuit on a different lap, the next lap, lap 5, and Sainz once again not making any mistakes this time, but he's out of the DRS of Leclerc because of that big slide that he had on the previous lap, and this is going to definitely allow me to catch up to Carlos Sainz. The yellow flag, meanwhile, I don't know who that's for, but it's someone ahead of me actually, and we know what retirements usually mean. They usually mean safety cars, so it's crucial to get past Sainz right now, as we're going to be pitting if safety car comes out, and we don't know how to queue, but Vettel is having an engine failure. We're going to go past Sainz. Luckily, it just switched back to green flag temporarily, and we're taking that place up into 6th now, from what was 8th at the start of the straight with Vettel's retirement. And we're up ahead of Sainz, and that was crucial because obviously we're teammates, and the safety car is going to come out at the end of that race, this lap. Sebastian Vettel is retired from the race. He still hasn't scored points this season, and yeah, I'm going to be peeling off into the pits. So that overtake really was very, very important. I can't reiterate it enough because we now don't have to queue, and unfortunately Carlos will have to queue, but that's his problem. He should have been ahead. So yeah, everyone on softs is going to peel into the pits. All of the top 6, I think, have pitted. Maybe 1 or 2 carried on, but see Gasly is out for how he's going to carry on as well, which is a bit strange, as he is on softs as well. And Carlos is directly behind me, so he's going to have to queue for so long. It's going to be a really long pit stop for my teammate. But, you know, what can you do? That was going to be me in his shoes, which I'm glad I'm not, because, yeah, we've gone straight out of the pits. And meanwhile, Leclerc and Albon are on the soft tyres, actually, and all the AI have pit for softs. Meanwhile, I've gone for hards, so I'm pretty sure I can go to the end from here. So, if we can, then that's going to give us a big strategy advantage. And Russell has actually gone through, but we've overtaken him in the shorter pit lane exit. But, unfortunately, I'm going to have to get that place back, because he was ahead of me on the pit lane exit, and then I overtook him because the pit lane exit's shorter, which means I've got to get the place back. So, yeah, fantastic working from the game there, and Russell has gone back through into 14th, in it's Williams, who hasn't stopped yet, and I've got a dispatch of him as soon as possible. You can see the two Mercedes are leading the train as the safety car is about to come in. I think it's a Verstappen in third who hasn't stopped either. I think the Mercedes actually carried on, as it's in a few times last season, and yeah, that's a bit strange from them, but I've got to get past Russell as soon as possible to get in the back of Albon and the Ferraris of Leclerc, who have stopped. They're on the same strategy as me effectively, although I'm going to the end and they're not, so it's not that crucial, but definitely Russell's going to be very, very slowly, and we've got a much better line through turn 2, but then the wash of understeer, and oversteer actually into turn 3 really costing us steer there, which means that Russell is going to be too far ahead to challenge into chicane, and meanwhile got Perez on the softs, who's got a fantastic exit. We're going to cover that off by giving a bit of a squeeze on the right hand side there and just about taking care of the Mexican, but Russell now going very slow down the straight, and this should be fairly straightforward as he's in the Williams car, the slowest car on the grid, which is by an absolute mile. Perez is trying to follow me through as well. He might even try one on me, but no, he hasn't. He's actually going to take Russell though. Meanwhile, you can see Leclerc and Albon up ahead battling very hard with the AI cars who haven't stopped yet, and a few laps later Magnussen is the next car on my hit list, and he's in the Alfa Romeo this year, which I think is the second slowest or the third slowest car, so yeah, it should be a straightforward one again, although that Alfa is still very quick in a straight line. We saw it so many times last season, but we're incredibly close. No DRS yet, I don't think, but we've got the overtake mode and the rich mix, and hopefully a faster top speed. We're going to go down the inside of this next little kink right-hander. Magnussen almost put me in a wall there, which isn't very surprising when you think about it, but down towards the next corner corner. We're not in a great position because the inside line is really important here. We're going to try and break nice and early, and Magnussen's going to go deep, it looks like, over those curbs and lining up a lovely switchback move. And we have mugged him right off there into what is currently 9th place. And we need to try and push and get on the back of Albon and Leclerc. But a few minutes later, everyone had pitted. We see my teammate Sykes in the pits and Albon in the pits as well. So going to raise us up into 2nd place, but Leclerc really got on with it the second half of that stint, and he's now 8 seconds clear. And 1 lap later, a few laps later actually, lap 16, he's in the pits now at the Monegasque in the Ferrari. And because the pit lane cuts off so much of the track, it's actually quite a short pit lane in terms of time. But you can see the gap to Gasly, who's in 3rd at the minute, is 12 seconds, but Leclerc is going to come out incredibly close to those drivers. So I'm now into the lead of the race on these hards, going to the end, but we've got 12 laps to do still. And Leclerc on the mediums is going to be very quick if he can show the same sort of pace he did just then. And I want to see the gap really. And you can see the Ferrari just behind Gasly and Norris, but then taking the shorter line off the pit exit, he's going to go back up into 2nd place, and the gap is going to be 9 seconds, which isn't really that much. And yeah, about 7 laps later, Leclerc's pace was on fire, and there's not a chance I'm keeping him behind, unfortunately, especially at such long straights at Hanoi. Maybe if it's a different track like Monaco, of course, or somewhere like Spain, maybe I could have kept him at bay, but yeah, he was way too quick for me on this race. And on those mediums, he's only 4 tenths back now. He closed me so quickly. Those 9 seconds went in about 6 laps. So yeah, through the final corner here, trying to keep it nice and safe, and the hard tyres really weren't paying off. The medium's working a lot better on this track, and Leclerc going to go down the inside off turn 1, which is pretty aggressive actually. I was thinking that the AI would wait for the long straight, but Leclerc making that move as early as possible and taking that position into the lead of the race in his Ferrari. That's the driver I was battling back in Australia and back in Bahrain actually, so me and Charles have been pretty close acquaintances this season so far, and unfortunately he's going to absolutely bolt into the distance. But luckily, because the gap was so big to Bottas, who did a really weird strategy, that means that I could quite comfortably take 2nd. Leclerc is absolutely gone. The pace of that Ferrari in the race was incredible in Hanoi, and yeah, he's now 8 seconds clear down the road. But meanwhile, I've still got 4 seconds to Bottas, and it's the last lap of the race already. So yeah, pretty lonely race after everyone stopped, but I'll happily take it, to be honest. Another podium in this season, 2 back-to-back 2nd places, while Leclerc has won both races. I finished 2nd in both races, and pretty decent start to the season overall, and hopefully the championship is looking pretty good at the minute. But onto the results then. You see teammate Carlos finishing 5th actually, pretty much the best he could have got really after being held in the pits for so long. I don't know where Hamilton was. He was actually 9th place. I don't know what happened to him, but either way, pretty happy with that. And 2nd place, I can't really complain. Leclerc had way too much pace. There's no way I was winning that really. Yeah, the pace of the Ferrari, very, very quick, as I said. But yeah, championship, we're up to 4th ahead of my teammate Carlos. And you see the top 5 only separated by 22 points. A poor race for Mercedes there means that we've closed up quite a lot in the constructors as well. So only 14 points off. So the championship could be pretty interesting this season. And hopefully with more results like that, we can keep the pressure on the top of the championship and maybe even challenge later down the line. But I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, then leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more. This has been JWay3, and I will see you next time.